Now, like I said, you could paint that upside down, but I'm left-handed, so who knows what that means, but. Now this is 300, so what is this going to do with the water?
It's going to absorb it.
And it's going to handle it a whole lot differently than the, so I did not choose to mask this. In my first painting days, I masked always the beaks, so I didn't screw them up, but I've learned I can kind of lift it. You know, I trusted my watercolors better. I buy good paints and good paper and good brushes. And they've lasted me, I mean, I hardly ever buy paint, really. You just don't. Once you invest in that $15 tube of paint, it may last you 10 years.
Right.
So it's worth buying, you know, when you finally start to buy paints like this, it's black. I can go right through that.
And even the beaks are black.
Yeah, really. What the heck am I doing?
Well, I was hoping I was going to say that.
I know. What was I thinking? And see, because I mask that, I can get pretty close to there. I want to keep that tail white. Thank you, Gina. I'm not paying any attention.
Always looking for an easier.
Yeah.
Me too.
Smart.
And so as I get down here, you know, as you're watching, because I can see that light, I can see where it's starting to dry out, and I don't want to lose that wetness, because when I start putting this wash on, I want it to kind of flow well. So this is getting down to that blue sky, right? And I want to, and this, because it's 300 pounds, what's it doing? It's absorbing faster.
Yeah, really quickly.
And so I've got to work with that. And I got a little on that bird, but looks pretty good. When I cut in, it doesn't leave as much water because I push down in my brush. So, and down here. So you can see I'm taking a little bit of time to make sure, because what happens when you're painting and all of a sudden you hit dry paper and you're doing a wash?
It's not going to flow.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and then it's very hard because now you got to mix up more paint or add more water, and if you don't have enough brushes. So that's why I really try to talk through my process, because I've learned by trial and error that I get really mad and I go, oh crap, now it's going to look awful. That's me talking to myself. Okay, now my paints are pretty much ready, aren't they?
Yes.
So if you've done all that and you go, oh, I didn't do any paints.
Then you got to do it again.
So I can do a couple of two things. I can begin just dropping in some color.
Smart.
Because I'm going to then go in and pick up. And this I'm going to just kind of do a little patchworky. So if wow, that yellow is really bright. But see, I can pick up two colors with that. And it
Blends on the paper.
Look at you.
So this is pretty light for my first one. Isn't it already fascinating? You guys are so good. So I could.
But look at that yellow. It's traveling.
Yeah. It is.
So it's got all those reflections, which I can build more as I go along. And I'm going to be a little bit more like Janet right now. She just paints it all. And I'm paying attention because remember I have my little mark here, so I kind of don't want to go too far. And I want these whites in there, even though I put them there. Some of them will come along naturally, and then get a little of that
love this right here. It's like it's just,
And I love it. This is such a different approach than the first one you did.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
show you a different.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's
So now I'm gonna get a little bit, see that brush is starting to be too big for me, so I want to get some of this blue, but I'm gonna put a little bit of this in with it. It's a little bit of a sea blue, the peacock. See how that makes that nice little, so, but I'm pretty nervous that that's pretty dry. So before I go try to put that in, isn't that great? So I'm not going to get a pure blue here because I waited too long to do that. Now I'll have to wait a minute because I can put a little bit of blue up in there. So you see how I'm just building this and watching it? You're paying attention to what's happening on your paper, and the other thing is if something gets real dry, which I can see it is up there, just go ahead and add a little of that.
look at the texture.
oh. And these lights, you can't put them in later. You've got them in now.
Yeah. So that's going to be a little dark. I usually will test first. As you noticed, I didn't.
It dries lighter.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I would have said that too. Thanks.
Sorry.
No, that's good.
Smart ass coming in.
I'm seeing a whole different side of you today.
Oh, the real Mary. Oh, she's something, this Mary of ours.
So I may want some of that. I like it darker down at the bottom of a painting, And then, so just doing across these legs. And see, I'm already starting to get some of these little water reflections, which are...
But
And
talk about
they're
being
running, and that's
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's
No.
the way it's bleeding down there is
Yeah.
really interesting.
And everybody today
See that tip?
today about being loose, and this is a great stage
Example,
to
right.
really practice your loose.
So that is very wet there. I'd like to put some in. But I'm gonna, so this is a, kind of doing a reflection around that white. So where you put in your masking, that'll lift nicely. Linda, did you want to sit down in this chair?
No.
You've just had it with me?
We can pull this chair. There's a chair right
So,
Yeah, I'm not sure what's helping today. It's one of those bad days.
so I can add in some of
At
these,
this point, can you start shading
the bird. Oh yeah, I could shade the bird at any time, but I would not take myself away from a good wash until I'm content that I'm done with my good first wash. Because once this is all done, then I'm gonna let it dry. Like, it would be frustrating for me to now try to do that and
Right.
come back.
Right.
So I guess that's the only, I'm trying to add some interest to this background here. Might be overdoing, but I've got still a lot of dark green that I want to put in at some point here. So I can, pretty much done with that blue, so I can just incorporate that. Try never to, because you see that darkness up there? I haven't gotten that at all. So I'll do a little Janet. Here I can pull it down. Don't have enough of that dark still. But this is really, this is like we were doing with the last one. I'm not even looking at this bird. I'm just totally entranced by what I'm trying to, I'm not thinking bird right now. I'm thinking water. I'm thinking, how can I, and I look at that, but I'm also looking at what I'm doing. Do I like what I'm doing? Is that working? And you know what I haven't gotten in there yet? which remember I put that ochre in? So you want a clean brush. Now Karen taught me this. If you wash a brush, do a figure 8. Did she ever tell you that?
Oh, no.
Gets most of the paint out.
Wow.
So when you're going to this color, which, kind of is not a lot of it in there, right? But there's enough of it that gives you a little bit of a, what is that? So there's something back there.
Yeah.
Right there.
To me, this answers the question. People might say, well, what do I do first? Should I do the bird first or the background first?
Yeah.
The fact that doing the bird first here would not work as well, right? I don't think. I think doing the background.
I probably, in anything like this, I always do the background first. Now, that one's gone. The one that you got, showed me that. This one,
This is what I want to do.
I did the bird first.
Oh, yeah.
And then I decided to do that background, and I wish I would have done the background first, but it worked okay.
Yeah.
I'd
say so.
But I was like, oh, I wish I would have done that background, because I would have thought of it. So the other thing now is, think of this, is if you wanted to try and pick up any of this, well, it's still pretty wet, just to make that a little bit more subtle, or just to put some around. I don't want to overdo it. That, and then I wanted to do a little splattering. Now, I want to preserve these birds, right? I don't want to screw up my birds. So if I want to, and this is wet on wet, so it's gonna, and you don't overdo the splattering, So
Oh, thank you.
it'll bleed out, but it does give you a texture in the, maybe that.
That ochre, yeah. Ooh.
So, and then I'm going to probably repaint that anyway. So that would be my first.